Yo, Joes and agents of Cobra Command. My name is Steve. This is episode 318 of GI Joburg. We're calling it the Skystriker XP-14F, which is the Skystriker. I'm joined by my friends Paul. Hey, Rob.
Hi, Paul.
And Rob. I gotta hear myself.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Rob.
Hey, Big Push.
And the rules with our pre-record shows, which we do every alternating week, which you're listening and watching one right now, is that we are going to talk about a toy. Not just any toy. A toy that we all have in some way, shape, or form. And this week, it is an absolute legend of G.I. Joe. But this being
But not
G.I.
this one.
Joburg and us being kind of late to the party in most respects, this is a toy that we got in hand well into our adulthood. So as legendary as it is, all of our memories of it are kind of colored by like hindsight. And
Yeah, being grown up.
yeah, so it's going to be interesting to try and interrogate exactly how amazing this toy is through this kind of adult lens. Everyone can agree that it is an absolute icon of G.I. Joe. I anticipate this video will be receiving slightly more hits than our last one, The Locust. But gents, what is your brushings with the Skystriker? Paul?
Yeah, it's like when you asked me the other day as well, I was like, when was the first time I actually encountered a Skystriker? And I think realistically, I mean, if I have to be like super technical, I think it was a picture, possibly no, not even. No, it was in the cartoon series. I think that's the most like accurate thing I can think of because I can't think of ever actually encountering G.I. Joe's jet before the cartoon. So that was like my first blushing with the actual Skystriker, not the toy Skystriker. And then the actual toy, well, it was modern era G.I. Joe was the big thing at the time, and everybody was very excited about this piece of shit. And as you can see, I love it so much. It hasn't got any of its tail wings.
Paul is
but that's just 'cause
referring
I
to
put them
the
away in
30th
storage.
anniversary retread of the Skystriker. You know, the one that came
Yes.
in a box that was way too small to hold a fully
How did
assembled
it fit in
Skystriker.
there?
How did they fit in there? They yanked the wings off and yanked the nose cone off. Like, this was a very underwhelming unboxing experience if you're used to the classic Skystriker. So, Paul, you have perhaps the most jaded view of this toy because that is the only
Oh,
one
definitely.
that you've ever possessed.
Yeah, and actually, to date, it's the only one I've ever actually laid hands on. I've never touched a real Skystriker. And I
Oh,
haven't even seen one in front of me,
no.
despite the fact that both of you guys have one.
That is,
Let's
wow.
get into that. Rob, you can weigh in next with your first blushings with the Skystriker, be it toy,
I'm-
comic book, cartoon.
I like to think it's also the cartoon. It's probably the cartoon because I don't remember us having that issue with Wild Weasel and Ace when we were growing
Shakedown,
up.
issue 34. Yeah.
I don't think we had that. So I'd like to think it was probably an episode of the cartoon that you had on VHS or you taped from the television that I first
Probably
also
the
experienced.
included
Television.
episode on the movie copy that we had, which was Cobra's Creatures. In it,
Ah,
that's the one that's infamous for having Junkyard being ejected out of a
yes,
Skystriker.
yes. Okay,
So
yeah.
Mutt, Ripcord, and Junkyard get ejected from Skystrikers, and they get abducted by Cobra. That's besides the point. It opens with a Skystriker sequence, and it showcases the sort of canine ejection system, and also
Yeah, I was very happy to
Okay,
see
no,
that the
an
actual
ejection
toy has that too. It definitely comes with the same
you
system.
love launching your dogs out of an aircraft, straight up.
Animal
It
companions.
had also
that's the way it
showcased
goes.
a feature that Flint could lock in all of the Skystrikers and then take them home with
Yeah,
him.
it controls all of them.
Everyone ejects out of their
5-hour
Skystrikers and Flint guides your birds home. But we'll be getting
Interesting
into
to see
its
Bye-bye
cartoon
wire.
appearances and comic book appearances. But Rob, I mean, this is the infamous part of the tale. When we first discovered the internet and we could buy toys through the internet, it was a massive windfall of like buying up as many GI Joe vehicles that we had some awareness of, but had never played with, as possible, as quickly as possible. And in this particular shipment, it was the Cobra Night Raven and the GI Joe Skystriker, and
Yeah.
I asked you, man, which of these two jets do you want to be yours? Because then I'll obviously take the other one. And you said,
I said Skystriker. Yeah. I was like, the
You
other
chose
one's pretty
early.
cool. And actually, it's kind of silly. I should have chosen the Night Raven because
You should have.
already owned the Sky Raven, actually. It's kind of silly of me.
I
was
think
like, I'll
because
just
I
let you
owned
have
the
two.
Sky Raven and you had, some dealings with the actual plastic, you wanted the new one. You wanted the one that we'd never experienced before.
The one that we
so
never
the
had.
Sky
Yeah,
Striker
that makes
denied
sense.
me then.
Yeah,
and
you'll never have the
I cursed your
original.
name ever since because I always, I treated your Sky Striker as a toy that was for me too. Like there was my
I know
only
for sure.
opportunity
That's
to
the way that
play
we
with this.
always treated our collections a lot. I mean, obviously, it was all at your parents' place, in your room, so it's very easy for you to treat all of my toys as your choice.
Still, for
Lady J.
many years, I never
Except
had a
Lady
Sky
J.
Striker of my own. My first Sky Striker was the same Sky Striker as Paul's. It was the 2011 30th anniversary, like truncated modern era one, which only seats one person. And as we've already
Seats.
established,
Yeah.
he lies down. The wings are all kind of disassembled, and it just
Yeah, they took a lot of liberties to get that thing out again, to be able to like make it and put it out there. There's obviously very big differences and lots of like niggles and problems, I think, with the 30th. But I mean, it's still cool that people were able to get it, and own it.
Minimum
it
viable
still has the
product is the word I would
same.
use.
It still. It still has the same profile. It's the same jet. From a distance, you squint at it and you're like, oh yeah, I have a Sky Striker. Just don't walk any closer to it.
You know what really irritated me about the Sky Striker, about that 2011 version? Like, it's not the detachable wings or the detachable nose cone or whatever. It is a little bit about the missiles falling off easily is a huge gripe of mine, and it is something that you can fix, but it does bug me. But the thing that really irritated me, not too long after I got the Sky Striker, actually no, I lied. A little bit before getting the Sky Striker, I went to Toys R Us once, and they had this F-22, and it's done by, I think it's called Real Heroes or whatever's, True Heroes or something, and it was an F-22.
Yeah.
And it was decently scaled. I mean, for what it was. I mean, it's not like, Zonga's huge.
I think the scaling was obviously reduced to like 1 to 22, but
Yeah,
or maybe 1 to 24. But what I liked about that F-22 that you're referring to is the proportions were correct. I mean,
Yeah.
compared to a GI Joe Storm Eagle, which looks like a chibi jet, this
yeah,
F-22
huge canopy. Yeah.
Yeah, it had the right F-22 proportions. Like, it looked like the correct aircraft. The pilot just looked gargantuan inside it or standing next to it. But, like, yeah, Paul, take it away, man. I jumped all over your story.
So, no, it's all good, man. So, like, that toy is very bare bones. It's a plastic jet. It's got a canopy that opens. It's got a dude that you can pop in there. It's got, like, 1 or 2 missiles, whatever's, and it's got some landing gear. It's, like, nothing too special. It was also only like $400 or something, if I recall correctly, which is a third of the price of the Sky Striker.
US.
Yeah, so that was like a third of the price of the Sky Striker when I got them, and I felt that it was a better toy, and that was the thing that really irritated me. That some like sort of cheap, straight to Toys R Us brand toy felt better in a lot of respects than the Sky Striker, and that's kind of what hurt me on the 2011 version. I was like, isn't GI Joe meant to be like the premium military action figure, And that kind of hurts it a lot. So that was a huge gripe.
The action figure was more premium.
Yeah.
That Ace, that modern era Ace, was a good
Stunning.
action figure. Whereas the F-22 came with like a 5 POA POS.
I'm Peter Pirate.
Yeah, exactly. Yank that guy out and throw him in the bin. I'd like to answer my own question and just say that I think my very first actual media exposure to the Skystriker has got to be Special Missions issue number 5. We spoke about issue 34 already a little bit. We touched on the fact that that's probably the best showcase of the Skystriker in comic book. But there was a Special Missions not called Shakedown, but called Showdown, where Ace in the Skystriker is
This was
accompanied
so
by
cool.
Slipstream in the Conquest, and they go up in sort of contested airspace around Cobra Island, and Florida, and sort of the Gulf of Mexico, and they just basically play a game of chicken, trying to goad a Stratoviper in a Night Raven into just doing something aggressive that they can then act upon. Because Hawk reminds them that you can't shoot first, otherwise it'll be an international incident. This is Cobra spy plane, and he's right on the border of our territory. But until he presses fire, you can't fire at him. Anyway, in that episode or that issue, the Skystriker was the sacrificial lamb. Like, Ace does some very aggressive stuff. He does the classic Top Gun move. Flies inverted on top of the Night Raven, and doesn't flip the bird or take any photographs, but I don't know, just says, "Eat my dust." The Stratoviper shoots him out of the air, and so like Ace is out of the fight. It's basically like more of a moment for Slipstream to shine and take some glory as the latter day GI Joe jet jock. Anyway, that was my first exposure to the Skystriker, and then, as we say, Rob got the damn toy in hand, and I was like, damn it,
So
man,
cool.
I didn't want the Night Raven, I want this thing. This thing cool.
It's cooler than the comic made it out to look. To look.
Let's
like.
talk about the cartoon series then. Its first appearance, this is wonderful. Its very first appearance was in the very first animation frame of the intro sequence of G.I. Joe, the animated series. Mass Device Part 1, The Cobra Strikes. It's front and center, flying through a very dangerous airspace. There are bombs bursting in the air, but the Skystriker squadron fly through it. Then we open the episode proper, episode 1 of The Adventures of G.I. Joe, and we see Skystriker shadows on the desert floor. There's one, and then they're flanked by another 2, and then one in the rear, and then it's coming down onto this gorgeously animated sort of POV or sort of following camera as it lands on the runway, all 4 of them. Skystrikers everywhere. The frame is just being soaked up by all these jets. Like, clearly, the big push at the beginning of this cartoon series is like, we need to sell as many of these damn jets as possible. Like,
Please buy them.
1983. Let's get them out there. Yeah.
get them going. Yeah, man. And
Everyone can fly a Skystriker, guys. Don't worry. Don't worry.
to the
Any toys you
credit,
have, pop them in
this
there.
sequence is a very tasty bit of animation, and it is entirely glorifying the Skystriker. But as I say, not only is it in the first frame of the intro sequence, and then the first frame of the animated episode proper, but it's even in the first line of dialogue, where Stalker says, "The new Skystriker's a real beauty."
Yeah, it's so good. I love it.
Push
Me and my
that
girlfriend.
sale.
Put a dog in that.
Who's behind the stick? It's Scarlet. Amazing.
Yeah.
And Cobra attacks. And, like, the Skystriker, I'm going to wager, is probably the G.I. Joe vehicle that has been blown up the most on screen in the cartoon series. Because, like, the airfield is just littered with Skystriker wrecks within seconds. It's evident that Cobra's just wanting to lay waste to G.I. Joe's squadron. And, boy oh boy, do they achieve their goal, I'll say.
It's. I feel like it's in almost every single episode. I mean, of at least
Getting
of
blown
the
up.
original series, and getting blown up, but even just being in there. I mean, it is their primary transportation for basically the entire run of the original series of the cartoon.
True.
That's how they get
Anytime
around.
the Joes needed to be sort of transcontinental, they didn't typically jump in a transport plane. They were each behind the stick of their own Skystriker.
They have their own. It's worse than traffic. Like traffic filled with cars with just one driver in it. Like there's literally the sky is just filled with Sky Strikers. Okay, I'm gonna go through. It's like I'm sure commercial airlines were very upset every time they were like, "Oh God, the Jaws are going on a mission again. We have to reroute all these passenger planes."
You got this like Skystriker behind, like honking, like me,
Get out the way! I'm on my way to
That's very hot shots.
Uzbekistan to take out Cobra.
Now, if issue 34 is the Skystriker's shining moment in the comic book series, I would argue that the final part of Revenge of Cobra, aka the Weather Dominator, is its shining moment in the cartoon series. Can anyone remember what I might be referring to?
Sergeant
I wanna
Slaughter
say
is
yes.
flying a Skystriker and he rams it into
with the dog on his lap.
blows up. They come out the top, and the parachute shoots, and then he wraps the cords around Serpentor, and he's like, "Yeah, freedom wins again."
Nice one. Paul, you want to have a go, bud?
That it.
Oh, dude, no. The heart says yes, but the memory says no. I can't remember.
All right.
that
Well,
moment.
we reviewed it ages ago, but
Back in 2012.
at the very end, we've got a Skystriker piloted by Flint. It's GI Joe's final assault on the Cobra Temple in the desert.
I was close.
The Skystriker piloted by Flint with Shipwreck and Lady J in the back.
Well, I was right about there being a bitch in there.
Well, they're both right. Yeah. Shipwreck is thrilled about that. In the back with
Wow.
Lady J. So Cobra Command wants to lower this temple beneath the desert. So there's this gigantic, like, sort of screw, cog, or whatever, that is turning on the inside to kind of make the castle descend into the sand. Flint's like, to hell with this, I'm going to stop Cobra. He flies the Skystriker sort of Death Star 2 style, Battle of Endor, like into the Cobra Temple in this gorgeously animated sequence. Very difficult to do. So many moving parts in that one sequence because the camera is actually moving.
Yeah.
They're animating everything.
Yeah.
And he flies in, fires a missile at this sort of central screw, for lack of a better term, and ba-boom. That, I think, is probably the coolest Skystriker moment. I mean, there are others, like in Pyramids of Darkness.
No, that is a
when
cool one.
they fly through Enterprise City, chasing, I think, Destro in a
Oh,
Rattler.
dude. Yeah, no, that irritates me. This is actually much cooler.
So
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
shortage
I
of
have
like
to
cool
agree.
moments. And do you guys remember the moment in, I think it's what's it called, The Wrong Stuff? The episode where they all go to space to knock out a satellite commanded by the Dreadnoks.
I think
Anyway,
I remember it.
everyone
Hey, no
trains.
fluffies.
Everyone trains to take Skystriker into space. Basically, a lot of them wash out. I think Lady J, Wild Bill, Roadblock, and Ace all make it into the sort of space Skystriker
Usual
program.
suspects. Yeah.
Anyways,
Dusty?
I clearly could just spin about the cartoon series.
Exactly.
All
I
night.
mean, it really is the workhorse of the cartoon. I mean, I think way beyond, its sort of like shelf life, when obviously it eventually left the shelves, it was still the featured vehicle. I mean, you just couldn't replace it with anything else for quite some time. So it definitely have dozens of memorable moments.
Which
For
is
everyone
weird
that they would
because
tell us about in the comments.
yeah, it's just which is odd because the only like repaint we get of it is the Night Boomer in the vintage line. We never got like a Tiger Striker
in the
or
vintage line, but I mean, I feel like it's probably one of the vehicles that's gotten the most repaints. I mean,
They made
over
up
the
for it in that
entire
modern
history,
one.
you know,
Damn.
Yeah, no, they definitely
of
did.
GI Joe.
Yeah.
Like the modern line had what the Starscream version. There's the black version.
Jetfire. There was the Cobra
Sky
version, the
Patrol
Cobra
version.
Scythe, I think it's called.
Something
We don't want
like
to talk about all that
That's-
stuff.
But anyway,
But I do feel like
Dozens of toys.
like I know there's like a whole bunch of variants, but I do think mentioning the Jetfire one is kind of like an interesting one because unlike the others, the Jetfire one they added parts to it to make it look like a VF1, to make it look like a Valkyrie, and they did that whole vibe and they colored it up like Jetfire.
Sorry, I'm just gonna wind you up.
But actually, I'm glad that Steve mentioned Robotech because Harmony Gold had a huge poo in their pants about it, and they tried to get Hasbro to stop producing it and blah blah blah. And turns out that actually Harmony Gold had no real sway there. But unfortunately, because of that, Hasbro did actually react quite quickly. So now they
think.
Yeah, they did pull them back a bit, just to avoid any further legal implications or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of made that a rare kind of variant. Like, guys, I'm not trying to say this because I want to drive up the price, God forbid. But yeah, it is one of those toys where if you see it going for a certain price and it's quite a bit higher than its, say, contemporaries, that's why. I think it's very average, to be honest with you. But yeah. That's the thing. That's the one variant that is like kind of notable. The rest are all like
color variations.
They're just color swaps. Yeah, they're not exciting.
So we talked about Skystrikers in cartoons. We talked about Skystrikers in comic books. But we didn't mention that. Just for the record, the Skystriker's first appearance in the Larry Hama A-Raw comic book was in issue number 14, Destro Attacks. And it's a blink and you miss it moment. It's very brief. But it's there. It's definitely there.
I'm Destro and I'm attacking.
Destro does indeed attack. This is the issue where GI Joe is closing in on Springfield, Vermont, which is where Cobra's, I think, toxin is being tested. Plague toxin.
Wow.
Cobra Commander is in attendance with the Baroness. GI Joe is advancing on this town. And Destro stops G.I. Joe's advance, allowing Cobra Commander to escape. And then Ace tries to catch Cobra Commander in the Skystriker jet.
There's a Springfield in Canada?
Vermont. No, not Canada. Not Vancouver.
Not Vermont.
Not Vermont.
Yeah.
America has a lot of towns that exist everywhere else in the entire world. I believe there's a Berlin. Yeah. There's probably a Dublin. Obviously, 1,000 Springfield.
There are only so many names in the English language. So we've talked about the cartoon, we've talked about the comic book. Did you guys know that the Skystriker is in fact playable in a video game?
No ways. They put it into that new video recently. Game coming out.
In 1985, for the Commodore 64, there was a G.I. Joe video game by Epyx.
Wow.
EPYX.
I kind of feel like we need to do a special episode for just this game one day because.
Oh yes, guys! I thanks to you, Paul, tracked down an insidious means of playing it. And
the only way of playing it.
Well, yes, of course. Who's got a functioning Commodore? I mean, you'd have to strip.
Well, there are people that have them. Yeah.
In America, maybe.
It might function for a day. But yes, I deleted it within 24 hours. Don't worry, guys. I'm still on the right side of the law. That blocky grey thing, if you're watching the video version of this podcast...
Is it a bird?
Is actually a Skystriker. Because if you select the Skystriker for a level that allows you to play it... this is the selection screen. You can select to use the Skystriker with Ace, the Merbat with Steeler, the Dragonfly with Wild Bill, and the Vamp with Clutch, or the Vamp Mark II with Clutch. If you select the Skystriker, they play the theme music, and it flies across the screen. Across the GI Joe HQ. Very much like one model for the cartoon version. It's massive.
I'm really trying not to comment on the game here. Yeah, because I really want to save it for an episode of that.
You have beat us again, G.I. Joe.
Have you played it, Paul?
I didn't manage to get it to work with controls. I had one of those weeks where I just did not have the time to spare to do this. So I really want to though because it looks fascinating.
I can say with some confidence that the Skystriker sequences of the game are the least playable, even with controls that work. Left roll, will turn your plane clockwise, counterclockwise. Right will turn your plane clockwise. Up means you're pulling back on the stick, which increases your altitude, and down, obviously, forward on the D-pad will decrease your altitude. It's like pushing forward on the stick. Your altitude determines how far your missiles fire. So,
Okay.
trying to get the sweet spot to get your missiles to kind of explode far enough away from your jet, and unlike the Dragonfly sections where you can obviously just hover, the Skystriker is always in forward motion. So trying to hit ground targets like the HISS tanks and sort of Cobra radar stations, they didn't make a toy of that, sadly. I guess it was a precursor to the surveillance port, but yeah, in the screenshot I'm showing you guys right now, it's colored in brown. Trying to hit the HISS tanks and these radar stations is an absolute ball ache. Not terribly much fun. And I had no idea how to end the stage once I had destroyed them all. I'm just flying around aimlessly while the GI Joe theme plays to let me know that I've won. What you have to actually do, guys, because I was trying to fly around trying to find my landing terrain, anything that resembled a runway. No, just like the cartoon, basically, you can land this thing on the desert floor. You can land this thing on grass. You push down on the stick until you basically plow this thing into the ground, and then some guys arrive, and it's mission accomplished.
Wow, they just knew wherever you land, they're ready for you. They're just following you.
Wherever you land, there's trouble. Wait.
But I mean, how long did I fly around wondering, like, okay, am I looking for something? Okay, I guess I'll just try and kill myself.
That certainly sounds.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I was going to say that sounds like the most difficult version of this mission, because I mean, I watched some footage from this game, and there's the human-based missions where you're kind of fighting against Cobra, and you have to basically defeat Cobra twice. You have to kill him twice.
One-on-one battles. Like you select Snake Eyes, they select Baroness. Those are
and
great.
You fight them to the death. While the vehicle missions, I mean, obviously you have 4 vehicle choices, but the other ones seemed pretty straightforward. You ride around, with Grunt, you destroy the things, and then the mission ends.
Clutch.
It sounds like Clutch. It sounds like with the Skystriker, basically, unless you've read the manual, which I'm sure the game came with originally, you wouldn't know how to end the mission. It sounds like the toughest version of the vehicles to choose.
Do I have to press reset on this emulation, which is totally foreign to me? I've never played a C64 in my life, so it's very intimidating. So I was just like, okay, I just gotta kill myself, clearly.
It looks good.
It
The representation that they have on the vehicle selection screen is fantastic. It's a very good representation of the vehicle itself.
They bothered to differentiate the 3 kinds of missiles, at least on the graphic. I mean, you only fire one type of missile in the game, but it's a good graphic. And seeing these 1985 pixels just delight me. Really tickles the nostalgia button.
In fact, to throw in a weird kind of abstract pixel representation for you guys, if you are jonesing to have an old school experience with a jet that you see from a sort of pseudo top-down isometric kind of angle, like you really, really want revenge on the fact that the Skystriker sucks on the C64 game, Top Gun 2 on the NES has the in-cockpit sections where you're flying in the cockpit and you're doing what you're doing, and then it's got these bombing runs, and then they turn it into like sort of isometric and you fly around. And those were actually quite well done. For their time, anyway. They have their issues, but anyway, if you really wanted that experience, that would be the better version.
Let's not lose sight of the fact that if you want a representation of the Skystriker in old school retro gaming, you need only play a Top Gun game or an Afterburner. Like there are enough
Afterburner, indeed,
F-14 games to give you that kick. So yes, the Skystriker exists in video games.
I
You just
would
have to know where to
love
look.
to have played Top Gun Beyond, whatever that first mission was, but I could never land those damn jets. I could never land. It's like, you're coming in too fast, coming in too slow, you're coming in too fast. More power, no power, less
Again,
thrust, more thrust.
There's an abstract thing on that game that you'll only know if you had the manual, and it basically is like, I think you have to hold A and B and press up and down to reduce your speed.
Absolutely wild. No, we unfortunately
Ridiculous.
had the knockoff NES consoles here, and
So we never had the manuals.
1,000 games. We never had the manuals. 1,000 games on a
Yep.
cartridge, and not a single manual in sight. Yeah,
But
maybe
yeah,
one
Top Gun
day.
2 was
But
definitely
what
the
a hell of a
improvement.
cool first mission that was.
Hell yeah, I love that. I could play that for hours.
It's the third mission I couldn't get past. There was like a night mission, and then when you do that landing, that's the one that we generally got stuck at all the time.
Oof, heavy days.
Somehow we, by some kind of black magic and unrelenting determination of a 6-year-old, we managed to get the first 2 landings right. But the first landing right, and then the second landing was a botch. Anyway, either way, we did see a nighttime mission. I have seen more than one mission in that game.
Holy
Anyway.
balls, man. Guys, should we get into the fictional stats of this aircraft?
Yes, the blueprints.
Yeah. So,
Blueprints.
my favorite go-to, because there are a few when it comes to researching stats on this aircraft, because the Skystriker, ubiquitous. Like, this is the quintessential vehicle in the heyday of GI Joe. A lot of different sources have information on it. But I like to resort to the Tactical Arms Compendium included in the Action Force comic book.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is... You're reaching
Did you
back,
see that one
my dude.
coming?
I didn't. The British are going to tell us the best stats for an American jet.
Oh,
An
that
American
is a
Navy
sexy
plane
piece of
piloted
art.
by an Air Force
Sure.
pilot. Yep. But it's got a gorgeous illustration of the toy. I mean, jet. But it also gives you... the stats in metric, which, God bless Britain.
Much
They're to
better.
blame for the imperial system, but they thankfully ditched it. This thing can fly at like just over Mach 2. Insane. They don't make them like that anymore. It's got
Did
blistering
they
amount
ever
of
make
speed.
them like that?
I don't know. What was the actual airspeed of the F-14?
Yeah,
damn
I
quick.
don't think it. I don't know if it can quite get to Mach 2, but I think it gets just shy of, actually, if memory serves. But anyway,
Oh, well.
it's cool that listen. It's obviously this is the Skystriker, just my logic here. If this is a Skystriker and it's being put in a book like this, they're definitely going to go, this thing is faster than the average F-14 Tomcat. So yeah, maybe this is definitely faster.
Well,
and cool, power to it.
What is the meaning of the added designation then? If it's not better than the average
Exactly, right?
F-14, it's the XP-14F.
They put the F behind the 14. I mean, it's bad.
Badass. So this was a mini poster. Well, in fact, not a mini poster. This was a centerfold of that particular issue. What a delight to have this to hand. In fact, I think I might actually have the physical version of this spread. What a joy. Oof. It can fire its 20mm cannon at either 4,000 or 6,000 rounds per minute. It's mighty quick. Get through your ammo
Variable fire
real
rate.
fast.
There we go, done.
Oh,
It's
there is the
from my-
variation, of course, to the cannons. The 30th anniversary, which you have, Paul, has the kind of the more modern take, the revision, which is the grill.
That is
and the
allegedly
sort
a gun.
Yeah, it doesn't look great, does it? Rob, your version has the old school, the first release, the sort of just like a very smoothed out nacelle.
Yeah, it's very straightforward. There's basically, it's very straightforward. There's nothing extra going on there. It could be a gun. It could just be the port where where it refuels, maybe.
I like that.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being a refueling port. Why not?
Yeah, me
Well
too.
then, shall we debate what the hell this thing is? Some people call it a bomb. Some people call it a fuel pod. I'd like to think it's a centerline gun pod, very much like the Veritech fighter. I'm referring to the massive dark grey or black, depending on the version, thing that occupies the center line of the Skystriker. Apparently, it was glued in place on original Skystrikers. Did you guys know that?
Oh my! I did
I
not
did
know
not know that.
My goodness, I'm so
Yeah,
happy
it was
we
not-
can remove it on our later versions.
I
So,
wouldn't
is
even
it a
know. Mine
gun?
would
Is
have
it
fallen out.
is it a fuel pod? Is it a bomb? Paul, what do you think?
I like the idea of it being a fuel pod. I know it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's like very romantic to have it to be another missile or a bomb or something, but these things fly long range, and
Oh,
you know
yeah.
in the cartoon the Sky Striker is flying everywhere, so having an additional fuel pod is better. Also, like GI Joe are meant to be.
3,220 kilometers, according to the TAC.
Wow, because like also I mean GI Joe are like a covert operation. They can't like always order long range air refuels like all the time. I mean that would appear on the government's books all the time. So I imagine them having long range flight pods on there.
Yeah, I often,
and if-
I usually default to it being a fuel pod as well. Although, like the little notches at the front do suggest it being a gun, like a
gun,
centerline
yeah.
gun.
I
Yeah.
like it being a gun, guys. I do not like the fact that the gun is in the nose, because that gun basically would be in the pilot's lap.
Yeah,
You
he'd
know,
be sitting. That's what
realistically.
keeps him warm on those long flights.
I just
He's
really
spicy
get
for,
freaked
a
out by
couple
the
of
fact
rounds.
that I get freaked out by the fact that there is, let's just say, okay, sorry, mine doesn't have it illustrated, okay, because of the, but the pod would be here, okay. So you're shooting, and that's fine. You're pulling up. Let's say you pull up, so your bullet drag goes down that way. But
Mhm.
let's say your maneuver goes this way, and your guns are still going. That's why that always freaks me out. The idea that the bullets can like catch here underneath the
Well, Paul, it's not without precedent, all right? The original F4 Phantoms had no gun. Famously, it was, entering dogfights in Vietnam with no gun, just missiles. And they thought that was a mistake, and they corrected it by initially fitting a gun pod. Eventually, they had versions that had a cannon, integrated into the nose. But yeah, those initial F4s were re-outfitted with a pod more or less in the same place as the Sky Striker's pod.
It just feels like a bad idea. But
Well,
then again, I
buddy,
don't know. I'm not a fighter
you're
fan.
a fan of Macross, and where's the gun pod on a Veritech fighter?
Oh, the Valkyries, yeah, they are underneath, but they're not as far back.
Whoa.
They're further in the front. In fact, I can illustrate.
He's got a toy to hand.
Whoa.
If you are watching at the moment, you
But I
are
don't have one
seeing
transformed in a Valkyrie. Yeah.
you're seeing the Order of Battle appearance for the Sky Striker. So all you guys who are in fact doing your measurements in Imperial, the
There
maximum
you go, guys.
speed is 1,544 miles per hour, which is Mach 2.3 at 60,000 feet. It can do Mach 1.36 at sea level. Still blisteringly fast, and that's 910 miles per hour. Its maximum range is 2,200 miles. That's like 3,300 Ks, I think, which is basically Joburg, Cape Town, and then back to Joburg.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing. And then it talks about the ordnance being the 2 Phoenix missiles, the 2 Sparrow radar missiles, and the Sidewinder short-range air-to-air heat seekers. And that's the standard layout for the Sky Striker, and that's been kind of retained in both your versions, gents. But if you
Yeah.
want to talk
Thankfully.
about the HasLab ever so slightly,
Ooh, there's a difference.
Ooh.
there is, boys.
Oh my goodness!
I-
Reinventing the wheel.
This is my version currently. It is the Sky Striker that formed part of the 2023 HasLab campaign.
Oh, Phoenix.
Or was it 22? I have given it a motherload of weapons, of ordnance. Firstly, you've got the optional parts to, instead of having a single dog bone pin closest to the wing sweep, it gives you a double. So I've got a Sidewinder and a Sparrow on each side. Then I have put 4 Phoenix missiles. Because why wouldn't you want to be able to lob a tree trunk at your enemy from like 30 nautical miles away? I mean, the massive advantage that the Tomcat had, which it still retains to this day, is the fact that it mounted these behemoth missiles, which just outranged anything contemporary to them. And the ability to knock out targets before they even get a chance to retaliate, that's massive. That's modern air combat in a nutshell. You fire the missile, you forget about it, you go defensive or evasive, you get out of there, and somewhere, far in the distance, your enemy goes down in flames.
It just disappears.
It's the hand of God. And then right back from the nose, I decide to put an extra 2 radar-guided Sparrow missiles. So that's a total of, math don't fail me now, 10 missiles on my Skystriker.
Checks out.
Damn.
Oh, and the ones that I've got
Are
in the
those
center,
Sparrows?
these in the front, yes. I
Yes.
figured, I mean, you want to be attacking at range, so only 2 Sidewinders if things get really
So
up close and
Amram,
personal.
Sparrows, and Phoenix. Okay, cool.
There you go. Now, you might be scratching your head if you're familiar with the HasLab Skystriker. How am I getting Phoenix missiles in the middle there? Well, because of these gargantuan gutters that they decided to include because of the flight stand feature. I hate it, by the way. It makes this very crowded in the middle there, whereas the original Skystriker was a lot more smooth. And I used the additional dogbone pins to stick missiles into those tracks.
Smart.
Yeah. So maximizing on ordnance. I bet she
I'm
handles
amazed
like
that thing takes off. How does it take off? It's so
Buddy,
heavy.
I have seen. I mean, you don't have to look far to find actual tomcats showing you their bellies filled with Phoenix missiles.
Oh yeah.
Just epic numbers of these, as I say, tree trunks.
Wild. And I think that is one of
landing is scary. Oh, that ordinance.
well, you just well, yeah. They don't active. They're not active the whole time.
No, they're not.
I think probably one of the most winning things about the Skystriker is that it is based off a real world jet. I mean, it's probably one of the most real world like vehicles we have in GI Joe, I think. And it already has that iconic look to it because it really was the top fighter that the United States had for however many years they had it. And I think that lends itself to its popularity as well because it's so iconic to you in real life and in your toy play too.
When did Top Gun come out?
1986.
Okay, so it's way after the Skystriker.
Yeah, they were obviously inspired by the Skystriker. They probably used them on set when they were doing like the previs of the time. They're like, okay, I want the shots to be like this.
I would not.
He'd grab his Skystriker and he'd fly it around, and then I want them to go like this, the canopy to canopy, and he's got to like
maybe not even then.
Thumbs up.
At the pitch briefing, one of them probably grabbed the like kids Skystriker and brought it to a meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, probably.
You know,
like I can imagine that.
I'm currently looking at the Impel card. Yeah. It's on screen at the moment. This is from, I think, 1991 or 92. Impel did a series of GI Joe trading cards, and this one actually details how many rounds are in the gun. 675 rounds. So if you're firing at a rate of 6,000 rounds per minute, that's what? Less than 10 seconds?
Yeah, you're done.
No, this thing's gonna blow its load before
it's also interesting. I mean, looking at those stats, I was just looking up on Wikipedia now. The Tomcat. So they describe the Skystriker here as having a twin TF30 engine, and that's actually the engine that the Tomcat originally came with, which did allow it to go up to 2.3 Mach 2.3. But it was also apparently a thing of contention because apparently the engine was very faulty. So they
have
eventually
heard that
did
much.
replace it for later versions, despite the fact that it gave the jet some of the best weight to fuel efficiency like ratios.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Nice,
probably
Rob.
find that it could
Bring in
go.
the stats,
Nice
buddy.
one, dude. You probably find that it could like go up to 2.3 then, but it was never pushed to 2.3.
Yeah, it wasn't required to have to do that,
Yeah.
but I mean, it could if it wanted to.
Probably find that they had these like important briefings about this is the operational speed of your F-14.
To go that far.
Do not fly it faster than this. When doing this maneuver, reduce speed to this. In this weather condition, reduce it to that. You know.
Wow, we're really getting like they've done tons of stats on this thing. Like I thought, like the blueprints was like the be all and end all, but like
No. Oh yeah, you actually own this comic book. On screen at the
Yes,
moment,
I
we've
do.
got the battle
I
files.
could actually probably grab it right now.
Yes, Devil's Due once again dipped their toe in the well of the Skystriker, and even as late as what was this, 2002, it was still GI Joe's primary jet fighter. It had not been supplanted by the Storm Eagle or by the what was it at the time? Oh, Hans Chow is going to kill me for this. I mean, he actually, it's like GI Joe's F-22 answer.
Yeah, the name of which escapes me as well. But then also, if you look at like if you take it from a realistic point of view, an F-22 is not a dogfighter. And by the time that this comic was published,
it doesn't need to dogfight. Everything's dead before it reaches.
Exactly, but that's exactly the point I want to make. At the time when this was actually published, it's more romantic to have Skystriker as the sort of arrowhead of GI Joe's air support or air like influence, because air combat became exactly that. It was like two jets very, very far away from that. That's what it is now, pretty much. It's two jets very far from each other, and the one's going, my missile will outpace your missile. And also, I noticed you before you noticed me.
We're going to get
and whatever, so.
grief in the comments because that's not entirely accurate. I mean, like, the air war over Ukraine is being fought by... It's not being fought by stealth. Like,
no, it's not being fought by
fourth generation fighters, like MiGs. Yeah.
They're like old jets going up there for sure. You know, biplanes.
I'm sure they'd love to have a few F-14s if they were serviceable.
Oh yeah, dude.
Lobbing missiles like the Phoenix.
I did see Image gave the jet an extra 300 rounds. It had 950 rounds for its main cannon in the battle files.
There you go.
So not very consistent.
Almost
like,
10 seconds worth of ammunition.
Well, how much do you need? I mean, if you're behind another plane,
if you're a good enough jet jock and you have that much composure, yeah, you're only really going to squeeze.
You can shred a tail quickly
when you've got it passing your nose. Still, I mean, it's
basically. I mean, what's the first rule of air combat? Is not to let anything behind you. So,
I don't know, man. With all that heavy
never
breathing
see
that was
what you're
happening in
shooting
Top Gun
at.
Maverick.
I think that's the number one rule. Don't see what you're shooting at because we haven't given you enough ammo to shoot that thing down.
Let's talk about the plastic, boys.
Yeah, thing. Let's get back to the toy. We're being too armchair technical, ridiculous fanboys.
Well, we are proving that like people love this jet. I mean, like whenever they get the chance, they talk about it. You know, they've kind of covered it over and over and over again. Hasbro itself, all of the different medias, you know, it's featured in everything. And why? Because the toy itself, the original one, I mean, is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's
this one, which is just an X. No.
Well, it's a good, you know, interpretation, I think. But yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's made of very tough. It feels very tough. The plastic. It obviously comes with all the beautiful stuff that we've been seeing in the all the stats that we've been looking at. It's very well equipped, very, very well equipped, and it's so cool that it actually has a mechanism, you know, that will actually fold the wings in and put the landing gear in as well. I think that's probably one of the coolest features. I mean, you want to be able to fly this thing with no landing gear popping out.
Until they've one-upped it, boys.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, even I think, talked about this once when we were like, how could you improve the Skystriker? And that really is the biggest improvement I think that you could ever make for the toy, is allowing it to
Independent
have the
landing gear
wings
and wing-
straight out.
Yeah.
Yeah, independently move the landing gear. I think if nothing else, the
Certainly
HasLab
takes up
with
less space
wins
on a
there.
flag deck.
Oh, absolutely.
Guys, can we talk about? We've spoken a lot about the Skystriker in a sort of abstract playground technical way, but I think we should talk about the toy as well a little bit, and like talk about like what makes this toy interesting, like what makes the actual Skystriker a cool toy, and what are the things that suck about it. And I think it's actually worth mentioning both the 2011 in these arguments, in these conversations, and of course the HasLab one. Obviously, we don't want to go into too deep dive, but like I do want to fire this off with the 2011, because I feel like I have poo-pooed the 2011 quite a lot on this breakdown, on our commentary on the Skystriker, but there are a few things that are actually very cool about it, even if they are a little bit maybe abstract. Okay, so I like the cockpit detail. It's not the best or the coolest looking cockpit, but I do like that the cockpit itself is actually very interesting. It is great for, like, if you take it from a play motion point of view, it's nice to have a camera up in here, and it's cool.
The seat has ejection
however-
handles. It's got the side stick for control, which is not a hallmark of the F-14, but it's cool.
It's cool. It's there, you know. But yeah, at least you do have two like flight sticks in there in the cockpit.
Can
which
you
is
get
fun.
your figure to grasp it though?
You can, but it takes a lot of effort. It's not an easy in, easy out kind of situation.
It's quite flush against the side wall of the jet.
Yeah, you have to really like get in there. And also, this might be kind of a controversial topic amongst many out there. I do love that the 2011 came with different livery for the plane. So like you've got the
you had
traditional
options.
like, yeah, you had options, and they sort of leaned into the Sunbow silliness of giving you like Hector Shipwreck Delgado as a pilot option, which I mean, which is how I've detailed up my Skystriker, because I love the ridiculousness of that.
And
I love
you've given it
I
the
love
yellow and
Shipwreck.
black striping as opposed to the
Yes.
red, white, and blue. Because
Yeah.
you
Yes.
are more in line with what, the movie? GI Joe Rise of Cobra?
No,
What's your deal?
I've just put it in line to be with Shipwreck. So like, I just felt yellow and blue was a cool color for the Bravo part of the wing. You know, like it's like
Yellow and black.
gold team. Yeah.
Alright.
So
I think a nice
Yeah, it's
improvement
like-
with that version too is that you can open the canopy with confidence. Like whenever
Yeah.
I open my canopy, I'm like, ooh, you kind of have to like almost have to hook it back. You open it and you have to like hook it back so it stays up. And you're like, am
Yeah,
I
you
pushing
have
it
to be
too
careful.
Creaking the whole
far?
time. Yeah. Terrifying.
I mean, not pictured as on my tail wings, on my tail stabilizers and stuff. I've got the actual whale graphic on mine because to go with Shipwreck. I thought that was like a cute little thing. It's a funny thing. But yeah, so guys, the one thing about this Skystriker is if for some reason you can get it like for a really good price, mint in box or complete in box with the sticker sheet, you'll be very happy to know that the sticker sheet is quite it's quite awesome. It's got a lot of options and all that. Not that you're going to go buy this just for a sticker sheet, but anyway, you're getting a really cool sticker sheet with it. And
Yeah, might as well just get
I'm not
repro
mad
stickers.
about those sort of signature designs though. Like,
yeah, they didn't choose the coolest ideas.
why
Yeah.
would Shipwrecks be the whale? He didn't come with the whale. He's not a Coast Guardsman. It's Cutter's Ride. Like, Shipwrecks
Yeah.
should be whatever the hell his tattoo is. What is that, like a shark with an anchor?
Shark and an anchor.
If they're
Yeah,
just
but then there'd be two on the nose, wouldn't
If
it?
they
I mean, like,
embellish
let's just
that-
put your personal tattoo on our aircraft.
Well, I've never figured that Flint was like a skull kind of guy, but his signature design on that sticker sheet for a Skystriker decoed up to be Flint's is like a skull wearing a beret with like shotguns.
Oh, no, I would have
From
expected
that video,
like, a full-
it's so much like that video game.
It's
like
very
that one old
Expendables,
video
if
game.
you ask me.
I would have
yeah, I was a
expected
big
like a
guy.
really cool design of like Lady J sitting on the in the circle,
Riding
kind
a
of like
bomb.
cheering him on. Yeah,
Yeah.
or like a shaft,
So-
one of her spears.
So the 2011,
We know
so the
what you got.
2011 version is not like a complete bust. It has got some
No,
things,
for sure.
but
I think if you have no other option, I think it's still a very good. It's a good. It is the Skystriker. I think
yeah, it's
we
Skystriker
poo-poo
Light.
it, but I think it's fine for
Yeah.
what it is. It was their attempt to kind of like get the vehicle out there again at obviously a lower cost, and to redesign it in a way that it would fit onto modern toy shelves.
Yeah, I mean it's a similar
So,
flavor without
thanks for the
caffeine or
effort, I
sugar.
guess.
Yeah,
But
But
what
then
an
also the-
underwhelming experience, Rob. We actually went
Yeah.
up onto Signal Hill, which is where we
Mhm.
shot the Hurricane review. It's where we shot sequences for Red Glare.
Yeah, for many
it's
of
just
our
a
videos.
cool place where you can shoot aerial photography with like a sheer drop off to the ocean. So you just got sky and sea, beautiful, straight horizon line, perfect for cheating the scale. But we didn't shoot a shred of footage that day because we just hated these fucking things so much. I was crestfallen. I was like, what? What have they done to my
Nothing
boy?
like the real one.
It sucks.
yeah. And then let's just talk about. I just want to do a quick rundown of what sucks about this. Okay, so guys, and
Here
it's
it
worth
comes.
mentioning. The bombs fall off. It's really annoying when you have got the tail stabilizers and stuff on. They are very wiggly, and it's very irritating. Like they just
Yeah, they don't
That's why
stand
mine are
well.
off. Actually, it's an OCD thing. It irritates the crap out of me. Single seater cockpit, which a lot of people bemoan and are annoyed about, and a lot of apologists like to defend by saying, "Yeah, but modern." I'm like, no, it's cuck. They could have just extended the canopy and made it a 2-seater. Don't know why they didn't, because money. But anyway, yeah. The matte finish might not be for everybody. Some people might want the classic vintage shininess. So this is like a good and a bad thing, is the matte finish. You might not like it. And did I mention the bombs keep falling off? Oh, also landing gear. This here is very like chintzy.
nose wheel.
I'm talking about the wheelbase. The landing gear base are very chintzy feeling. It bugs me a lot.
Plastic-
I'm always
they do
scared that
feel
they're
very
gonna
Plastic
break.
wheels.
Yeah, plastic wheels, and yeah, I have modified mine, so only the landing gear comes out. But yeah, plastic wheels. It feels a bit. It's got a shitty roll feeling, like it doesn't roll as nicely as the classic one. I'm led to believe, but this one,
Oh,
anything's
trust
better
me, it
than the way
rolls
this
better than the
rolls.
HasLab does.
Oh well, I'm glad to hear that. And then also, I feel like this is a criticism that can be leveraged at the vintage as well. But this I understand. Landing gear out and wings out like that is very silly looking, in my opinion. So I really kind of wish they had inverted it a little bit. But yeah,
Oh,
that's
just
been solved
Paul,
by HasLab. Anyway,
You have to,
yeah.
just as a disclaimer, you have modified yours to
Yes, I did
disassociate
modify.
the
I did
wing
mention.
sweep from the landing gear.
I did. Yes,
the
I
original
did
does
modify
not do
mine.
that.
You
very
opened it
sad,
up, you
it's
cut
sad
the
wing.
teeth. But yeah, your wings now sag,
Yeah.
unfortunately. They don't stay.
Yes, if I have it on the wall. I mean, I can actually go in there with some super glue and make it bite better so that it doesn't fall down as easily. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to give a rundown of the actual toy if anybody was in the market to buy one of these. Cool. Tell us about the vintage one, Rob. What makes the vintage one so cool?
I think, as I said earlier, I mean, it looks like an iconic jet. It looks like the Tomcat. It feels, the weight is actually quite nice. It feels very solid, I think, in general. It is shinier than the 2011 one. And I mean, yes, of course, they had to kind of like pare down the size, but I still feel like it is a good size for a toy jet. And the fact that you can have two people in your cockpit is absolutely amazing. If you had to kind of like sit with only one character inside here, I mean, that would be absolutely awful.
Who have you got?
You can't put mud in there.
Well, there's no one in here currently, but who I usually do put in here, into the cockpit would, I mean, you kind of can't not do it. Let me just put it down for a second. The original pilot that came with it is Ace. Very cool, kind of like proper, like, I mean, not spacesuit, but I mean, I'd imagine it's kind of like a
IG suit.
high
Pressure
G
suit.
suit. Yeah,
Yeah.
pressure suit. Yeah, so it kind of like keeps him, stable and able to like work at higher Gs. Very, very cool figure in general, I think. The likeness is kind of nice as well.
Helps
He
to
looks a
pump
little bit
blood
brain
around
dead,
his
but yeah,
body.
he still looks cool. I think a good guy that I sometimes put in the back if I want to kind of like at least simulate using the parachute, because mine does come with the parachute, would be Ripcord. I think he's a good guy to put in the back seat. He just opens it up at Mark II. You know, a Mark II just opens the canopy, you know, shoots him out, and kind of like flies on without the back seat. And
Rob,
I think
you just mentioned something.
with the canopy.
You just mentioned something. You mentioned something I totally forgot about now, dude. And this is the problem with having the modern Skystriker. You don't get the parachute, and you forget it exists. And it's such a cool feature of the original.
Yeah,
Carry
it's gorgeous.
And the
HasLab.
And the HasLab one, Their modern era version really lost out.
I hope you get a parachute.
But another good second person in the back seat also, I think, would be Countdown. He's a good he's a good guy to put in the back seat
with Star Brigade Countdown's helmet. Nice.
Yeah, you know, any color of Countdown should kind of go in the back there. I think
that's like player 1 and player 2 alternate colors. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. He's a very good, I think, second seat as well, because he also looks like he is in a pressure suit. You know, he is in a high G suit. Yeah, I mean, unlike Paul's one, the missiles do stay on here properly. Even the ones on the side that, I mean, usually when you find with the side missiles, because of the way that they construct them, the little peg will often go straight through the missiles. Not in this case. They're actually built in a way that it goes into the missile and doesn't go through the missile. So these missiles aren't like other,
like the Rattler.
a lot of other GI Joe. Yes, unlike the Rattler, where it kind of like pierces straight through. And I mean, a lot of my Rattler ones are broken because of that. Yeah, so it definitely holds on very well. And yes, it has nice rubber wheels. The rubber wheels remove really well.
While you've got yours up, Rob, just notice how many more screw holes the HasLab has.
Show your belly and your screw holes.
I can see that now.
The OG 1983 version is just sublimely
it's much
smooth.
smoother. It feels more realistic, I think, because I mean, and also the placement of the screws inside the kind of like engine, I don't know, baffles or whatever you'd call these. It means you notice it from less angles. So you will really only see this from this angle straight on, like this from the bottom. I think even further back on the jet, there's only 2 more right at the back. And once again, they're placed inside the angle of the engines so that you wouldn't actually notice them from a lot of other angles.
Another thing externally, that brought my attention.
4 screws. It feels like there's 4 screws, unless there's a few more that are hidden under the missiles.
Rob, you're
right there. Actually, no, yeah, it'll be 2. So there's 2 at the back. There's 2 like kind of like near the wings. Like I can't see them because they're slightly under. But once again, hidden behind the little peg. 2 near the front, and then there's also 1 right in the nose as well.
Oh, the essential
kind of okay.
Tow hitch.
It's important for it to be in there.
Which the 2011 doesn't work.
Whoa.
The 2011s cannot be towed by the flag's tow vehicle.
But Paul, what did I make you realize?
I didn't know. What's in the air intakes in the front of yours? Because the 2011 has nothing. It looks crap. Look at that.
Well, no. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, yes. The original also has nothing in there.
I don't know why, but yours just looks nicer. And I'm not trying to be like a vintage. Like
the 1983s has more of a recess. It's more of a cavity.
I think it's more recessed.
Yeah,
you can look right into the guts
as well.
You can look right into the guts of the plane. Whereas also 2011, it's just a flat wall.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Also, it's almost up to my second knuckle on my finger.
Here on the air takes. Look at these.
Yeah, you have
2 horrible screws here by the air takes on the side here. It completely messes up the form. Like at least you guys have got the hole sort of in the middle there. It's like less, somewhat less offensive than what they did.
Way less noticeable.
Just saying. Yeah.
Now, I could fill several podcasts talking about the HasLab Skystriker. I wrote out a lengthy script for a review, which turned into more of a rant. And that is why I will never put that review to film.
Yeah,
ODTs.
don't.
Basically, I reread it and I was like, no, this sounds like every keyboard warrior's like man-child rant about their fucking toy, and I'm not going to do it. This thing has been an emotional roller coaster. I've written the script, and cathartically, that means I can then put it into the back burner
Yeah.
and never think about it again.
I mean, we give a lot of negative opinions on the show, but I think you will find that generally the overall arching thing of most of our content is very positive. We may have some
We
negative
also play
opinions
with our
about stuff,
toys.
but we play with them. But then, yeah, having an entire episode just be like, "Oh, I hate this thing. This is why it's so shitty." Yeah, I
It
agree.
has
Citizens don't ever reach.
so many shining like virtues. This thing is it's remarkable. It had some bunglings in terms of like it being sold as a kind of a battle in a box when all I really wanted was this gorgeousness. It came at a rather tragic time because I just bought my very first vintage Skystriker. And then the very next week, Hasbro announced this HasLab, and I was like,
No.
really? Okay. Why are they doing the Skystriker? I mean, we all question why the hell the Skystriker again. But it does a lot of things remarkably right. I mean, we spoke about the wing sweep feature.
Yeah,
The
that is
added
already a
detail,
big one.
The fact that it's right at the box doesn't need stickering because it's got so many paint operations. All of these are painted details,
Wow,
which
Oh, yeah.
means
I don't
that,
think I ever realized that
yeah, like I haven't got a single decal on mine.
sticker on there,
Everything that
which
you
is
see,
fantastic because I mean, with the age of the original, I mean, if you aren't putting repros on there, your stickers will eventually fall off. I mean, I have several actually that are missing from mine at this
just
point.
peeling. Sure. There were some corrections that I had to make with paint, sadly. Particularly the kind of on the combing, the black around the cockpit in some areas doesn't match up. Here it still doesn't match up, but like I had like white showing along the sort of the edges of the canopy. This section, the front section, is individuated, which is realistic. So the back canopy glass kind of pulls away, leaving the front canopy glass still there. This is also removable, but I wouldn't advise you taking it out too many times because mine already started to show little stress marks thanks to it being clipped in and out multiple times. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that anymore. Ace 1983 is my pilot, thanks to Greg Crocott. And then I've got a Slipstream Spy Troops version from the Conquest of that year.
Which is a great looking pilot figure.
Well,
They
he's
look
he's
great,
great,
yeah.
and he just is very not Slipstream. You know, he doesn't have a removable helmet, so he could be anyone. So that's why he's my Wizzo.
Nice.
This is a hefty toy. All the features come at a cost. Rob, off air, we spoke about the fact that it's got a glossy finish, much like the
Yeah,
1983.
which I think is very cool.
Not only is it glossy, but I think all the wall thicknesses are greater than the original because this thing is a hefty beast. Like, it's a workout for me to manipulate it with one hand. So to be doing what I need to do to film this thing, it becomes very tiring very quickly. So it's weighty. Not sure I like the tinted canopy. I wish that was clearer. Like, what is this? Pimp my jet? Why would a jet need... Like, you want more visibility, not less. Anyway. Mine and...
I've got a good argument for that. It's just an
suppose you
age
do.
thing. Because clear will go yellow after a while. So avoiding
So
that,
they're
yeah.
future-proofing it.
But they gave you two in the box so that you could decal it distinctly and have a spare one. So they
That
gave
is
you
a
lots of
cool.
extras.
That is cool. That is very cool. I like that kind of attention to detail.
But if it was going to come with two, give us a see-through one and then the brown one too.
They needed to pad out the value of this thing. I mean, the last minute scramble to throw in the extra Cobra figures is evidence of that. Like, they needed to push this over the line. And the reason the GI Joe line and HasLabs in general for GI Joe are doing as well as they're doing, I mean, Classified obviously has a huge thing to do with that, but if this didn't work, if the Skystriker had failed, like, would they have been able to move so confidently on with the HISS tank? Like, one needed to happen for the next to happen for the next to happen. So like, this was a sluggish start for the GI Joe HasLabs, but it did fund. So like, they were able to move on to.
I mean, yeah, they came
popular
off very
things.
confidently. I mean, that was a confident start, and since then, I mean, all of the GI Joe HasLab stuff has been funded.
It's all been classified. That's the hot ticket.
Well,
This is kind of
yeah.
a learning curve. They were like, okay, maybe O-ring's not so hot right now.
It kind of works.
We misjudged this one. But I wanted to
Maybe
talk
had
about
they
the
made them better.
landing gear to kind of close off with this, because as I say, I could talk about it for a long time. You pull the arrestor hook, and the landing gear comes out. The arrestor hook does fold down. What would really make this so sweet is if you could actually roll the goddamn landing gear. They rub. They clearly rushed the engineering on this, or the production of this, because it rubs against
the wheel.
landing gear
I
door.
know.
The wheel rubs against the door.
So the spring is too strong.
No, there's a plastic rib that just needs to be maybe
Slightly
a
longer.
millimeter more generous. Then you'd have clearance. But sadly, it's right in there. And so the inner wheel will rub the door. Not only that, but they just messed the geometry up ever so slightly, that these rear wheels, if they'd gone a bit further forward, maybe there wouldn't be as much pressure on them caving in. But they just are angled too far back. So if you're coming in for a landing, chances are great you're going to belly in and scrape your very expensive jet. Not ideal. Particularly if you're landing on the desert floor or the grasslands, as that Commodore 64 game would have you believe. And the wheels themselves,
So it's great for
while
flying.
rubber, do not have the best roll. No. I'm reminded of my favorite Skystriker memory of all in this moment. Rob, you'd had your Skystriker in hand for a few weeks. I had my Night Raven. It was late at night. We were doing some dogfighting, as we would typically do on the streets outside my parents' house.
Hell yeah.
And I wanted to see how these things handled on asphalt. I very gingerly let down the landing gear on my Raven and like placed it on the asphalt and then kind of just nudged it forward. Ooh, okay, it rolls. Okay, the rubber's nice. It's not scraping any of the plastic. Cool. You, dude, clack, bring down your landing gear and you're like, hell with this. If I'm gonna test this landing gear, I'm gonna test this landing gear. You were skating this thing down the street. I was like, dude.
He Top Gunned it, bro.
But
That's
in
why you
that
can't land in
moment,
the video
one
game.
thing was made abundantly clear to me. No GI Joe jet, or Cobra jet, or any jet produced in the line since can ever top the amazing free-rolling wheels of that vintage Skystriker.
Yeah.
Rubber with I think it's a brass rivet in each of the wheels. Amazing tolerances, amazing engineering, amazing just roll.
Yeah, the correct angle. There's nothing pushing up against them, unlike your HasLab version. It really does. Like, I mean, if I put it on anything that was too smooth, I'd probably roll off wherever I put it, I guess.
It ain't gonna belly in. The wheels don't cave in, and you can land it in high seas on your USS Flag, and
Hell yeah.
that gear will stay true and stay down. Yeah. So, for all the bells and whistles of the HasLab, I kind of would trade it all just to be able to land this thing properly. There you go.
I mean, it seems like, yeah. I mean, they got so much right with the original. I think the only gripe is the fact that you can't differentiate the wings opening with with the landing gear coming out. And they've just been trying to do, improvements over the years with these vehicles, but they just can't get it as good as they got it originally, 40 years ago, 41 years, Oh gosh.
It's insane. Ages
But I
ago.
mean,
So in short-
so we have been poo-pooing the 2011 version, but I think probably the best thing, at least for us, is that it is a very good stand-in for the original version. So that when we do our play motions, you can fly the original, and then if you really actually want to like physically crash a Skystriker into sand, we
Bring
can
in
do
the
that with the
stunt
2011
striker.
version.
Here
The
it
Stun
comes.
Striker, yeah.
As long as
Guys,
you don't open the canopy, you will not realize it's not the same version.
rating this is going to be a curiosity because we're each rating a different version.
It's tough.
I'm gonna be, I suppose, right down the middle on mine and say 3 out of 5. What it does exceptionally. It brings a lot to the party, but against its favor, the fact that it was a HasLab, an exclusive, which even if you were trying to finagle some way of getting it ahead of the deadline, you had to be in certain parts of the world. I was not in one of those parts of the world. I ate shit for mine. To this day, I'm bitter about it.
I feel
And
you.
it was a box full of things that I didn't need. I just wanted the purity of the experience of this jet again. I was not interested in the bells and whistles. I have carded figures that I don't know what to do with. They're just going to sit in the box, rot. Blast effects as well. Gross. Who needs that? So yes, it's a 3 for me.
Fun.
Paul, do you dip even lower?
Yeah, guys, the 2011 is also it's very middling, but for very different reasons. When I give it a 3 out of 5, it's not the same scale that Steven's using to judge the HasLab Skystriker, in my opinion. I feel like the 2011 is the version you get if you couldn't be asked to try and get a complete vintage Skystriker. Like you haven't got the resources, maybe you haven't got the budget, and you sure as shit don't want to go and do all of the driving around and looking for the parts and going onto eBay and doing the toy dealings and all that stuff to get it. So like, yeah, the 2011 is the Skystriker you want if you don't want to spend a lot of money and don't want to put a lot of effort into it. And for that, yeah, it gets 3 out of 5. It's good. It's good enough. It's good enough to get the job done. And yes, if you play motion, it's a great stunt striker. It's cool to have. Whoops, I dropped it. Oh well.
Hi, Paul. I think 3 out of 5 is way too generous, man. I obviously haven't impressed upon you enough how crestfallen Rob and I were at that moment.
Dude, I hate this guy. Like, I maybe I should then add that my impression, my feelings toward the Skystriker before I got the 2011 versions were here, and when I got the 2011 version, my feeling about Skystrikers are here. For me, it's just a big plastic F-14.
So they went from high to low. Is that
to low.
interpret
The
those
2011
hand
version
gestures?
killed the magic of the Skystriker for me, like almost instantly.
Which is the biggest crime, really. Rob,
Yeah,
do you have
actually.
a purity to add to this? I mean, your
Well,
first blush with the thing was the ultimate, right?
yeah, for sure. I mean, which is why I can maintain my record of giving these things 5 out of 5. It is definitely it's one of the
legend.
ultimate vehicles. It is the most iconic thing. I mean, everyone agrees, from Hasbro to fans to people outside of GI Joe. I think you see it, you can kind of associate it, the Tomcat with either us, I mean GI Joe, or with Tom Cruise. And yeah, it really is an ultimate vehicle. It literally cannot do any wrong, I think.
It's in the perfect Venn diagram, like center of like accuracy, fun, playability. Fun and playability are the same thing, but like the HasLab skews too much towards like a premium feature.
Yeah, the premium is just that it's as good as it is. I think.
That's true.
If I was, and I've been in this situation many times, but if I was had to put myself in a retail situation now, and I had all 3 of these mint in box on the shelf, and they all had varying prices, and somebody had to ask me, well, of these 3, which should I get, and why is the vintage one more expensive than the HasLab one, for example? I would say, well, you buy the HasLab one because you want all the bells and whistles. You don't play with your toy, really. You just want something cool for your toy display. It's got the boost effects. You can mess around with the missiles. It's got some cute little things here and there, as Stephen mentioned. It's premium. The HasLab is you want to get
Well,
your childhood back.
As I say
the,
that, I'm reminded of how
yeah.
crappy the carts are. Like the ammo, like the fuel truck, and like ain't nothing premium about those pieces of shit.
Yeah, but
they
it's
slung
there.
a
It's
few
value add.
turds in that box just to
But
kind
it's
of pad
added
out the
extras,
perceived
you know.
value.
But then, and the vintage version is you're spending this much money to get your childhood. You're getting the best version that is, as we've mentioned here, it's between a good-looking collectible and also being a very fun to play with collectible. And then the 2011 is the one you get for your kids so that they don't mess up your cool shit.
Yeah, if you can't afford anything
Yeah.
else, get that
But
one.
heed my words, dear listener and viewers, that a 20-something Rob took his vintage 1983 Skystriker and raced it down the asphalt street in the dead of night. Like,
And not that
thing
nice
was
American
built to
asphalt
be
that you guys have.
played with.
No.
Oh yeah, and this is
So
this
the African
shitty
asphalt, like rocks, bro, with
Yeah,
some tar
the real
and a
stuff down
pothole.
four-wheel drive Skystriker. Anyways,
Yeah.
we have been GI Joburg, and I've
Six-wheel
thoroughly enjoyed this chat. I feel lighter.
Oh yeah. Ah,
Yeah,
just as light
really
as
do
my
want a vintage
wonderful
Skystriker now.
Skystriker. It's so light.
Master
Oh,
of the air.
handle with one hand.
It's missing in my
I
collection.
want it.
Oh, I suppose I should have mentioned that the modern version is basically a really great figure with a really shit accessory. That ace is really magic. It really is magic.
Yes.
Oh, Paul.
Good
Good
job,
figure.
guys.
Black
Yeah.
tails or white tails? Since the 2011 version
Ooh.
only came with the black
Oh,
tail,
yes.
would you have preferred
white
having
tails.
White tails, okay.
Wow.
Whitetails.
Okay.
Whitetails.
Or
think
let's
it
call
looks
it
much
vertical
nicer.
stabilizers, in case
Yeah.
anyone comes at
More
us.
homogeneous. If there was contrast on any other part of the plane, other than like the rubbery nose bit, which is also like annoying, it would be fine. But the jet is one color, so have it one color. You know, have the thrusters be the dark meat. Yeah, I don't know. Thrusters and missiles be the dark meat. Tail stabilizers and tail fins, whatever vertical stabilizers, should all be like the same color. At least on this specimen. Yeah.
Agreed. Well, I think we better point our toes towards the door. Gentlemen, this has been a blast. I hope you've enjoyed watching or listening to this episode as much as we've enjoyed giving it. Fascinating debates. And if you are on the YouTube version, drop down into the comments. Let us know what your favorite version of the Skystriker is. Is it 1983? Is it 2011? Is it 2023? Or any of the versions in between. If you feel like you've been personally attacked in any of our criticisms, please champion your chosen Skystriker, because at the end of the day, if you enjoy your toy, well, that's what it's all about.
Who's to say you can't?
Frickin' Joe.
Wait, before we do our somersault out, just a huge thank you to our Patreons.
Oh yeah. Hey guys,
for helping us make all of this cool magic happen. And also because you guys are gonna get this early, the Patreon and the YouTube members will get this early to watch. So, and also just want to introduce Legend Series and Pete Moline to the green wall.
That's
new patrons.
That's amazing. Thank you guys for joining us.
Sweet, and I think summer is starting to get to the American sides of the world. So, why not get yourself a cool GI Joburg T-shirt? Yay! On our merch store.
Pushing the
merch.
Pushing
I have to push the merch, man. It's cool merch. Especially because I know that the merch that we have is at least good quality, so that makes me very happy. By the way, man. I love it. I love it when people buy our merch and post pictures of it on Insta and on Facebook. I actually download or screenshot it every single time for my little collection. It's super cool. Maybe
pictures
one
of
day
you on his wall, guys.
Not on my wall.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, thank you guys. You make the magic happen. Really appreciate it. Now go and fly your Skystrikers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do it.
Next week we'll be coming at you live, talking about comics, toys, whatever's new and hot and happening.
Maybe a cartoon.
Something related to GI Joe.
Damn. All right. Yo, Joe, boys.
Wait.